Everyone did a fantastic job with Module 1, and I got some good feedback saying that these overview videos were very helpful. I don't have any homework to go over because everyone who submitted homework seemed to have done a fine job. I think the biggest challenge was the assignments were maybe a little easier than you were expecting. This happens. It doesn't happen a lot, but it happens here in these first couple modules. So do just follow what the assignment tells you to submit. I know there will be some times in the future where the file you will submit has deleted a lot of the work that you've already done. But it's more about just checking in on your reading and following with the assignments rather than checking any of your work. If you have problems with the reading and doing that are not part of the submissions, please do email or Canvas message me and attach a copy of the spreadsheet that you're working with so that I can work with you. I will also mention that tutor.com is really good with stuff like that because while I do usually get back to students within a day or two, they can be available usually within 10 to 30 minutes. So try them if you need that instant help, but I don't think you're going to really need that so much in this module. Here in Module 2, we're going to continue to work on cloud computing concepts and making sure we're all on the same page. One of the reasons I do this is I started with the Google Drive file sharing, oh man, probably close to 20 years ago now, and was very familiar with it before the college started using Office 365, which is now Microsoft 365 and the O365 stuff online. And there's slight differences between OneDrive and Google Drive, and they can be very confusing. And I know a lot of traditional age students coming to this class have a lot of experience with Google Drive because most of the elementary and secondary schools here in Vermont use that. Google's very good about giving that software at a great discount to the schools so that people continue to use that outside of school. And I use that for a lot of personal work myself, but I also used it with the Women's Flat Track Derby Association, and I also teach at Bennington College. And during COVID, I did some advanced spreadsheets work for them with pivot tables on Google Drive. So I know what can be done there, and I know that the organizational version of Google Drive is a little different than what we're working with personal drives, but not so much that we can't get the ideas behind both. The fact of the matter is we are in 2023, and this is how businesses around the world are communicating and sharing files. It has a little bit to do with the wonderful collaborative nature of these tools, as well as no one's buying devices with huge amounts of storage on them anymore. We don't want to have phones that have to have cards. We want phones that can just retrieve stuff from the cloud. So our overview and objectives do kind of explain what we're doing. We're finishing up with the sharing tools in Excel and OneDrive. We're working in shared documents. I'm going to try to keep some of those open so that maybe you can see how I am engaged with a file. If I see somebody on there, I might try to chat with you because that is a possibility. This is a much more fun thing to do when we're in a classroom together all at the same time. That does not happen here in online classes that are not synchronous. I have been asking the college to offer a synchronous version of this course, and I'd love to teach it because there's just a few things that I think students really get when we work together on some of these assignments and projects. We're going to continue to work with our file management skills. Some of you found that folders were a possibility in Google Drive for the first time. For people who've been using that, it seems like an obvious thing, but it's not obvious if no one's ever shown it to you before. So I'm so glad that these things have become available to you because you know about it now. We are going to get into a little bit of Excel as well with the assignments, and I'm not going to read them here in the objectives. I'm going to talk about them as I go through the assignments. After the overview and objectives, we do have a page of reading and resources, and I will post this video here after the reading and resources so you have access to it. This is what the reading and resources page looks like. It's asking you to read the session 2 in the basic skills Excel 365 text. If you are on Mac, it's the basic skills for Excel 2019. If you have your essential skills textbook, this is the second session in the essential skills book for Windows and Excel again, and some of the lesson numbers may be misnumbered because the courses was made a couple years ago. The content is the same. So work with this. Be sure to follow the titles of the assignments, not necessarily the numbers of the assignments. I think we're going to find that Mac users don't have as much discrepancy because they're not dealing with file management, which is very different on a Windows machine versus a Mac machine. I do have you reading in your Essential Skills textbook lessons, session 3, lessons 12 and 13, which is about absolute, relative, and mixed cell references. I'm going to go ahead and add another resource for reading about this, which is on the Goodwill Community Foundation's gcflearnfree.org website, because some of you may not have textbooks yet, and you don't have to necessarily read the official textbook to learn about absolute, relative, and mixed cell references. And I encourage you to go ahead and read Expert Skills Session 8 Cloud Computing. I do not have tests on that. It's there to read about for your information and to have better grasp on OneDrive for Excel. After the reading and resources, and of course this video after I produce it, we do have 7 assignments. The first 3 assignments are like last module's assignment, where we're working with some cloud computing stuff in Google Drive and OneDrive, and we're sharing these files with each other. We're going to share files anonymously, and we are going to share files specifically. Anonymously means I have set the world permission so that anyone who has the link can do whatever I've asked. In this case, it is be an editor. The specific sharing means I have taken your account name for Google Drive and have added you to a list. And if there's anyone else working on these files when you are working on them, when a file is anonymously shared, you'll see some kind of anonymous animal at the top with colors associated with that icon. And that will match the colors of the cursor also on the sheet. Now, if I happen to be on there, I'm not going to be an anonymous animal because I own the file, so it will have my name. So that's not exactly the same, but just want you to get the idea about that. With specific sharing, all of your changes are tracked by your username. So when we look in the histories, we'd be able to see all of that. I do get into file sharing in Office 365, which is Microsoft's online file management system. It's called OneDrive. And the file that is on that PDF, which you can download or print out or just read from the screen, should step you through all of this. Now, the last 4 assignments are actually getting into working with Excel. And you need to make sure that you are working with Excel on either a laptop or a desktop with Windows or Mac operating system on there. A Chromebook will not work. It will not work for this course. Let's go ahead and take a look at these assignments and make sure we're kind of clear on them. We'll start with Module 2, Assignment 4. This is a super easy assignment. You are going to go through and do different lessons. This is all working with the first quarter sales and profit, and I think the original file starts out with a basic file. I do encourage you all to go ahead and download the student files for the whole textbook at once and work from those. Generally, I'm pretty good about adding the file here for when you're maybe don't have access to those files, but if you put them in your OneDrive, you'll have them. It'll be great. Save your working files somewhere else so you don't overwrite the original files. This does kind of step through and says read and do. Lesson 1, 3, 4, 6, 7, 8, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, and 17. Yes, it skips a couple. I think those couple that are skipped are other working files. You should still read and do those. But here, this is just what you need to submit. So I strongly encourage you to do all of session 2 and all of the lessons in it. If you're on a Mac and you're missing some of these, don't worry, just submit the final first quarter sales and profit file that you've completed for this assignment. I do think that you get to do all of them. Module 2, Assignment 5 is Reading and Doing, Lesson 218, which is titled Understanding Linear and Exponential Series. It's just the rabbit population file. You'll go ahead and upload your completed file after you read and do that lesson. Module 2, Assignment 6 is asking you to use automatic and manual flash fill to split text. He does use examples that have European phone numbers and currency that's not always US dollars. I kind of actually like that about this book because we get so used to just reading everything that's for us. So getting a little bit of diversity in our textbook can help us open our minds to understanding not everything is US dollars or US phone numbers. Again, I encourage you to download the student files and work with this. These notes down here, 1, 2, and 3, may not be correct. Just be sure you follow the titles of the assignments more than following the numbers for the reading. So we have use manual flash fill and use multiple example flash fill to concatenate text. Those are the 2 lessons that you're going to do and submit here. Now, Module 2, assignment number 7 is big meat and potatoes on getting you going in Excel. This is a real-world scenario. My best friend bought the house next door to me, and when she was working with the mortgage agent to buy this house, she asked me if I would make a spreadsheet with the 4 different possible programs the bank could get her involved with, and different purchase prices of the house itself. Now, there is a little worksheet here that you can click on, and this is a PDF file. It kind of explains the scenario that we have here. There were 4 different VHFA lenders available. This is, I believe, 5 years ago now, so the interest rates are lower than they are today, but not too far off. They did have an assist program, which gave her $5,000 toward a down payment. It's a program where you don't pay any interest on it. They basically put a lien on your house, and you pay the $5,000 back when you sell it. Then it goes over the scenario where there's an asking price and what the property taxes were at the time and how those go into escrow. For those of you who've not bought a house before, that just means that the bank takes a little bit from you every month with your mortgage payment and puts it in a savings account for you that you don't get interest on. But when the property taxes are due, they pay the property taxes. Banks are funny that way. They like to make sure that if you stop paying on something, they get your house before anybody else. So they like to make sure property taxes are paid, especially when you're a first-time home buyer. And while she did have some help from her parents for a down payment, we're just going to ignore that for now. And because she didn't have 20% down on the house, she had to pay what's called personal mortgage insurance, which we usually call by the acronym PMI. So what the assignment wants you to do is make tables, and you either need to make a table with each different purchase price, covering the 4 different interest rates, or you need to make 4 tables, one for each interest rate, with all the different possible purchase prices. And we're going to work with the payment function. Now, I realize this is only the 2nd week, and it's a pretty advanced function to work with. It's not just simple formulas to write out, A1 times C2 and using our mathematical operators. But it's a great opportunity to just kind of dig deep in and follow along. Now, I have made a video about this, and this video I recorded in 2020. This was the last class I taught in Brattleboro before they kicked us out of in-person classes with COVID. I had a responsibility to make sure none of the students were identifiable, but you'll sometimes hear that a student is asking questions where people kind of had to work things out on their own. I did edit this for length. It took a little longer for me to walk around and look over people's shoulders and answer for them questions that they had. A lot of students who have not worked with Excel before really like this. Can you do this assignment without watching the video? Absolutely. And some students will do that. Go ahead and challenge yourself with that. But do go ahead if you're not clear or if you have any questions or this is really your first time and you want to start from the beginning, follow along with this video. Part of the reason that I don't give you the step-by-step instructions in writing is because this kind of approach to spreadsheets is how we work with them in real life. The textbook is lovely. It gives us cookbook stuff. It gives us a file that says do this and do this and do this. But in the real world, we have a problem that we have to solve, and we have to solve it with a spreadsheet. And we need to think about our layout and our planning and where things make sense to access data and how to reference these cells. So we're going to actually be working with autofill in this. We're going to be working with absolute, mixed, and relative cell references in this. We're going to work with a payment function, and we're going to use the function dialog box to set the function up and track how the various pieces of the payment function are evaluating within that function. So there's lots and lots of little pieces in what seems like a real simple basic scenario. It's a very common scenario. Go ahead and watch this while you do your work. I think you'll get a lot out of it. You should pause it as you need to, rewind, fast forward, whatever you need to do. And hopefully you'll get a lot out of this. I don't need to record it again because it's already done and nothing has changed in Excel in this kind of work in 30 years. It should work fine for you. Technically, you can do this on a browser-based version, but browser-based Excel in Office 365 Online does not give you the function dialog box, which is a big piece of learning how to work with functions that are new to you. And if you're not always working with functions that are new to you, you are not improving yourself on spreadsheets. So make a habit of learning how to use this dialog box because it's a fantastic tool that Google Sheets does not offer. There is a quiz. It's based on session 2. Again, if you have a Mac and aren't getting the answers from your textbook, you can just email me when you're done and let me know, and I will give you credit. Now, some people have said I should make 2 quizzes. Here's the deal. These quizzes are based on the Windows version because that's the version that's going to be tested if you decide to take the Excel expert exam in the future. And if you want to get them right, you can get the Basic Skills Section 2 text for Windows for free from the publisher and find the answers. I am happy for Mac users to just do their best and figure things out on their Mac because I know that for the rest of your school time here, at least, you're going to still be working on a Mac. So it's best for you. I know it's a struggle, but it's best to go ahead and research what you can and can't do on your Mac. There is, again, a self assessment. Everyone varies in how they use this. I really enjoyed what I got to read this past week. Keep up the great work on that. If you have lots of questions or you want to share more, I can give you more feedback. If you're happy keeping your answer simple, that is also great. You do you, and you're going to do great with that. The due dates are all on here, although this hasn't been refreshed since I updated these first couple. There we go. So all of the assignments are due February 5th. I'll add that to that. The quiz is due February 12th, and the self-assessment is due next Monday by noon. Have a great week. Do reach out if you have any questions. I'm happy to answer them. Thanks.